there. Welcome to Midwest Fantasy Football, week number 13 recap. We got a couple extra guests today, so we'll see if anybody recognizes any disemboweled voices that are joining us today. Kicking it off, this is a playoff primer. This is the last week before playoffs, so we're going to have some extra content. It'll probably be a little bit longer video, so we'll probably try to rush through a little bit more on the front end as what we might normally do. So week 13's high score, obviously, Brandon's blown call, 187.5 over Drew's D-, 128.04.
Yeah, pretty obvious place to start with Judy, right? 43.5 points, 235 yards, just rocked. And nope, obviously wasn't expecting it at 10 coming in at 10 points. So, great Monday night finish there. Still had a couple other great players though too, right? Andrews came in at almost 19 points. The Pittsburgh defense almost 16. Even Jackson coming in 5 points over, and Robinson coming in 10 points over. Just really had good numbers all around. Compared to Drew, on the other hand, and you don't see this too often, Burrow putting in the exact number of points he was projected. It's always good to see. Somebody who's a little consistent. Harris with 25 points is pretty strong there. Could have put in May for an extra 0.4 points, or 0.2 points for quarterback. But honestly, the big miss there is the kicker. I don't know if you just decided, screw it, I can't get those extra 8 points. I mean, the game was projected 8. A kicker could have made the difference. We've seen way more out of kickers.
You're telling me there's not any kickers that put up 60 points out there this week?
No, he needed 7 points originally. He could have, projections alone, should have put a kicker in. But, yes, wouldn't have mattered in the end.
Yeah. Without, even looking at this matchup, without Judy's huge game, even without a 0, still would have won.
Yeah.
So, anything from the disemboweled voice over here?
187 points. I mean, that is just impressive. So, congratulations, sir.
All right, our next matchup is the biggest blowout, different one this week with even 187 points and kept it closer than this one. So, Derek, his producing monster, 132 over Ethan's pretty good. Oh, shoot, I gave it away. Dang it. Pretty good
Hey,
team.
how's it going?
132 to 72.1.
Yeah, so Derek's numbers look pretty good across the board. No huge surprises, against projection. But Richardson brought in 21 points. You had Williams at 21, Hill at almost 21, McConkey at almost 21. Really, the only thing on the bench, Williams could have brought in an extra 5. Again, wouldn't have made too big of a difference. The only person that really hurt there was Hawkinson at 6 points. Compared to Ethan's team that played like they were on a bye week, you had Moore at 23. Otherwise, everything was a disappointment. Purdy at 2, Hubbard at 2, Kittle at 2, Moody at 3, San Francisco at half. Right?
Yeah, it turns out the Niners kind of sucked this week. So
This week.
This is where that loyalty hurts. Wouldn't have made it enough of a difference, but Winston with 36 points on the bench would have been a hell of a lot better than Purdy's 2.
Well, hey, at least look at it this way. Your loyalty at least only got you so far, considering you don't have CMC, and then you don't have to worry about that problem yourself. So, anything you'd like to weigh in over there?
Oh man, just a rough season for the Niners. That's about it. So.
Well, saying that, it's only the 4th loss you've had, so
Yeah, not bad.
still in 3rd place.
All right, moving on. Closest game this week. What was it? You did the math. 17 points?
Yep.
17 points. Aaron's cousin subs Hurts Donut 112.4 over Trent's Deucing and Laporta John with 95.7.
Yeah, so this week I completely lost track of what time the game started, and that's why Mattinson played, because I looked at my phone at 3:30 to set my lineup and realized the game had already been going. Luckily, it worked out for me. Bowers pulled out a hell of a game with 33 points. Really, the only major disappointment there, a couple people in, under or over, but the only real disappointment was Hall coming in at only 6 points. Where looking at Trent's team, he had a couple different disappointments, Dell and Brown.
Trent only has 2 wins. His entire team is a disappointment.
Fair. Darnold on the bench would have brought in an extra 5 points. That would have made a little bit of a difference. Really, the star there is Seattle, bringing in 19 points on the defense. Terrific game for them.
Anything over there?
Nothing
on this one. All right, moving on. Next matchup is Lee's Cut My Balls taking my team down 163.4 over 118.1.
I am glad to see Lee win without getting the highest score, so thank you, Brandon.
163 ain't bad.
Yeah. Obviously, a few big blowouts here too. Irving at 31, Njoku at 26, Denver at 20. Some real big numbers put up there made that 4.5 points by Cup really not make a difference. Looking at Scott's side, he had a couple players come in a little bit over with Barkley and Dowdle at about 23, 24 points, but Disley at tight end not bringing in anything, and then leaving more on the bench would have brought in an extra 9. Wouldn't have made a difference unless he had a lot more than that.
Yeah, I've not had great luck trying to pick up tight ends with my 2 tight ends, both in my IR spots the last 2 weeks. 2 weeks in a row, I've picked up a tight end off the waiver wire, and they've both gotten me a 0 spot. So hopefully one of my 2 tight ends will be healthy enough to play this weekend. Moore, actually, I couldn't play him because, he's on my bench, but I'd already played all the spots, and I actually cut somebody off my bench and picked up a wide receiver in case he had a Jerry Jeudy kind of night, and I wanted to play him next week. But I had to cut him because I needed to pick up a quarterback for this week, so I no longer have him on my roster. So it was already locked in. It was nice that he went off, but it doesn't do me any good anyways. So, anything you want to weigh in?
No, but going with Russell Wilson for the quarterback there, that's interesting.
Did you look at the waiver wire? It's fucking deserted out there. Yeah, it was. I think my 3 claims that I put in were for Russell Wilson. I don't remember actually. Never mind. It was two also not great options. Oh, Geno Smith was one of them, and I don't remember what the third one was. It was the Raiders guy, Aiden O'Connell. Yes, I remember now. So because Nick was giving me crap about which one I was picking. So, all right, next matchup: Will's Galactic Gibbs Gang. Oh, came up short. Sorry. Scott and Josh's Pocket Dogs, 148.8 over Will's Galactic Gibbs Gang with 124.3.
Yeah, so Scott and Josh, really the only major standout here was Smith bringing in 21 points. Otherwise, everybody was pretty close. There was a couple good jumps. Collins, A-Chain, Evans bringing in more than expected. Evans was probably the biggest gap there other than Smith, but also had just a couple come in under. A lot of this came down to that original projection was just really, really close. And look at Will, he just didn't have any of those big blowouts. I think the only person coming in high over expectation was a 7-point difference for Allen, who, of course, had one hell of a night, but just wasn't enough there. The only thing that otherwise I think I saw on this one was that Scott technically could have brought in Thomas Jr. for an extra 13 points instead of Lamb, but just rub it in a little more.
Nothing to add on this one.
Okay.
Boys.
Moving on, Eric's Wood taking down Tom, who's back to being a McBridesmaid, which I like the name there, by the way. 147.7 to 119.7.
Yeah, so couple big ones here, right? Thielen bringing in 24 points, Allen bringing in 24 points. Really strong performances there. Mixon too, not quite as much of a gap, but also 25 points. Just some real good numbers there. The only disappointment was Sanders at 3, but it's a kicker. Tom, on the other hand, did have some big numbers with McLaurin and McBride, really going after those mix this time. But otherwise, Cooper and Brooks in Minnesota, even though some of those were over projection, they were all under 10 points. So only real difference here is could have been in Westbrook for 21 points instead of Cooper's 4.
Anything?
I mean, that if they can hear that beautiful sound in the background.
They actually can't. We had this happen one other time during a video, and they cannot hear the chime of the clock back there. So
No, but I mean, Aaron's over there saying the kicker was a disappointment, but really every player from Miami is usually a disappointment. I mean, it's kind of rooting for him against the Packers this week, but.
Yeah, well, Green Bay's defense has been very good of late, and it's hard to say, they're a huge disappointment. I mean, and not only that, but Miami's team has generally been pretty disappointing this year. The really only star from that offense, I think, in this year, in my opinion, has been Jonnu Smith. So the tight end has been just constantly catching balls. So, all right, moving on to our last matchup. Nick and his T. Bolden girls knocking off Chris's Minnesota fanboy, 124.6 to 102.5.
I still can't believe, I haven't talked about it for a while. I can't believe we're this close to the end now and Nick's in second place, right? Going from those early projections to
his one-win team, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what he changed in between. We should look when the season ends and see how many of his players are different compared to the beginning. But, obviously Daniels there bringing in 27 points. really most of the rest of his other players came in right about where they were expected to. A disappointment with Walker III coming in at 6, but otherwise, I mean, he only got 4 points over projection. He was already expected to win by 11 points. The real difference here is that Chris just had a couple players come in under. Only really one big blowout was Schultz. Otherwise, coming in under projection on most of the players, and that's what did it for him.
Looking at this for Nick, I'm thinking about like where his projections were and why they probably under. And Yahoo in the scoring just overfavors quarterback so much. So probably Jaden Daniels is probably one of the real reasons that Nick's team has been so much better than what they were thinking. He also has Malik Neighbors. Also, drafting rookie, unpredictable. They can't really predict where that scoring is going to be. So if you think about that, and then like Khalil Shakir, that was, everybody at the beginning of the year was like, oh, Buffalo's only going to be able to throw to Dalton Kincaid. They have no other wide receivers. That's not been the case. So overall, that's probably why Nick's team was so much down, at least at that point. But and then Chris's team being down is because you were nice enough to take the curse of Justin Tucker from me, since he has absolutely been ass this year. So I did read a really interesting article today. It was talking about why they feel like he's probably having issues, and it's probably he's the way that he gets all of his power is through his hips, and he might be just over-rotating a little bit now that he's getting a little bit older. So it might be something he can correct for, because he seems to be pulling all of his kicks left, so maybe he's just got to aim a little farther right and play that hook a little bit more. So we'll see. He might be able to correct it at some point for you. He might be a lost cause for you at this point, but maybe for for Baltimore they get it figured out before the playoffs.
Speaking of lost cause, sorry about Christian McCaffrey. That sucks.
Yes, it does. All right. I don't think there was any wagers this week to talk about. I don't know that anybody made any new ones. So then looking at playoff odds, right? That's the big thing this week. It's the last week of the regular season. I have my wonderful handy-dandy chart, which you're not going to be able to see due to Aaron's lovely halogen lights that we're using today. But I'll put it up on screen here. So obviously Lee is locked in the number 1 seed, so congrats for that. The number 2 seed is still up for grabs. It's going to be between Ethan over here and Nick. Nick's got the 76% shot at it, and so we're going to highlight some of the matchups that are going to matter to these battles for like the second overall bye. The last playoff spot is out there still to be determined. And then there's no longer a bye for the 2 worst teams in the deuce bracket, but we can make fun of whoever the second person is going to be regardless. So, in terms of the playoff odds, that last spot, it's like right now it's looking like it could be me, 59% chance. If I don't end up with it, then it's pretty much a coin flip between Brandon and Scotty B/Josh. Aaron over here has got a 0.01% chance of making that playoff spot, so he needs a lot of stuff to go his way.
Saying there's a chance.
So looking at the matchups that are out there, the first one to talk about that I wanted to highlight this week is really Nick's. Let's see, or I guess I got the pretty good team one in front of me. So Nick and Ethan are the 2 matchups. So looking at the pretty good team here, looks like he's got his matchup fully set. Ethan against Eric. Eric does have a full roster set right now, but he's only projected for 96 points versus Ethan's 117. So clearly it looks like it might be favoring the gentleman off camera here.
Let's hope.
Would you have anything you'd like to weigh in on this matchup of like where you think it matters the most, or like who your key players are?
I don't know.
And you say, I'm going to guess 49ers would be my guess.
No, I think we'll be okay this week. I mean, it's Chicago, right? I'm not too worried. But Chuba Hubbard, I mean, he only got 2 points last week. That kind of worries me a little bit. And who knows? I mean, like you're saying, San Francisco, it's been off and on. So hopefully they pull it off, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, it depends. It is at home, so they generally tend to play better at home.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about the northern climate in Chicago, so the passing offense may do better. Better for kicking, better for defense against the Bears. I think you're probably going to hopefully get a good week from the Niners this week. Looking over on the other side, I mean, it looks like Eric had to get down into the dregs for the running back position. I see Patrick Taylor, or what is that, P. Taylor Jr. at running back from the Niners?
I have no idea who this guy is.
I
We're on third string running back right now, and I don't even know who this guy is. So.
Yeah, so unfortunate timing for Eric, obviously. He's got both Javonte Williams and Joe Mixon on bye. Zay Flowers as well. It's pretty thin at running back for you this week. Hopefully you can pull something out. Somebody has a good game. If it's going to be anybody this week, it's probably going to be Kyler Murray or Jalen Warren would be my guess. And then looking at your another notable here is I see a Keenan Allen in that Bears game. That Bears game is going to be really critical to this matchup. Bears Niners.
Shelby's questionable though.
That's early in the week. All right, second matchup to highlight that was really important was Nick. Obviously, Nick and Derek. Nick matters for trying to get that 2 seed. Derek matters for trying not to get the second highest deuce seed, basically. Also, we talked about the second highest deuce seed, and we talked about Lee locking up number 1. Trent has also locked up number 14. So congrats on that with your 2 wins. We talked about it earlier. So over here for Nick and Derek, this matchup is actually interesting because Nick is clearly the higher seed. He's trying to go for that second seed, but he is currently under projected by 8 points in this matchup. It's really interesting, especially knowing Derek's team has underperformed the whole year. So we'll see if you'll actually match projections this week. Anything you want to weigh in here on this particular matchup?
Nothing other than I hope Nick loses.
I mean, that does make sense. That does track. So looking at it, yeah, you got Nick here starting Tua versus. Let's see if they look at that. There's the Bears again. Yeah. Also, I went looking for Caleb Williams on the waiver wire. I thought he was out there.
Who picked him up?
Derek did. He's in this matchup.
Oh,
so that Bears game is even more important all of a sudden for you.
Bears are important.
You really need a Niners big win this week now because it will. Well, the problem with it is you need him to score a shitload of points. Yeah. So I guess if the Niners get blown out, you'll be a little bit of a positive.
Sure, why
not? Yeah. Hawkinson, there's that Hill, like you were just talking about.
Yeah.
The Niners offense got nothing going on. Kyron Williams, Jackson Smith-Njigba. Yeah, I mean, Derek's team looks like it has potential, but they just have not put it together this year. Currently sitting with 4 wins this season. All right, so those are for your top 2 seeds. The next one is the matchup for what looks like... Which one is this? I got my numbers in order. Oh, that one's the last one. Okay. Switching to the last matchup for the sixth seed. For me, it's me versus Aaron this week, which is a super fun time. If I win, I get the last spot. It's done. If I lose, it opens up a lot of doors. There are 4 teams at 6 and 7, 1 game behind me. Scotty B has got like a 50-point lead on everybody else, and Brandon is right behind him. So if Brandon has another week like this, it'd be great. Now, he's going to need that, and he's going to need me to lose. So in this matchup, Aaron says he didn't even look at his roster yet at all, but it does look like he's projecting out for 111 points versus my 116 and a half. This one is going to be it's going to be a tight one, and this one is definitely going to be one to watch this weekend. In my opinion, I think the biggest part of this game is going to be, God, don't get any plays down to the 1 yard line and let Jalen Hurts do tush pushes. Let Saquon Barkley score all the points. That game might decide this matchup. Anything you want to weigh in here? Are you going to take Alexander Madison out, or are you going to leave him in your lineup here? He's still listed as questionable.
Yeah, I'll watch. I've got his backup on my bench, so I'll watch.
Big fan of the Raiders here. You got Alexander Madison and Brock Bowers. Big Raiders fan here. So
yeah, well, Bowers has been working out.
Oh, okay. Well, anything you want to weigh in on?
Nothing. I'm just surprised on DK Metcalf on your end, I guess.
About what?
Just hopefully he works out for you. I've had him in previous leagues, and he always loses for me. So
I mean, he's like the top 15 wide receiver overall. What do you want, right? I mean, he's my 3rd wide receiver at the moment. Like I can't. I mean, I guess I could start 2 tight ends. I did that earlier this season. All right, now I need 1 fucking healthy tight end, not 2. So, all right, last matchup that I wanted to highlight was Chris versus Brandon. Obviously, this is another one that does matter for that 6th seed. Brandon obviously needs to get a win. Chris is trying to avoid that second deuce spot. We talked about Derek, who's his competitor for that second highest deuce seed. This one is interesting at this point. Both of these teams still have gaps to fill because they have buys in their projections. It's currently 73-73. So this is the definition of a pillow fight right now.
It's a bold strategy by both teams. I like it.
Yeah, Derek, I would say that Chris is winning because he only has 2 guys on buys compared to Brandon's 3 guys on buy. For Chris, you're going to need to fill in you're going to have 3 spots to fill because you're missing CMC, done for the year. You've got Dalton Schultz at tight end and Justin Tucker, the kicker, which you're going to have to figure out what to do about that. I bet he cuts Justin Tucker finally. But you don't have, you have a you got a quarterback. That doesn't do you any good. You don't have a running back other than Roshan Johnson. I guess you do have Garundo. That'll be a good one to sub in for CMC, but you're going to need a kicker and you're going to need a tight end because your tight end is Taysom Hill, who's also out for the season. So, fun times. Over on the other side, we've got Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews for the Ravens, both on bye, and then Will Lutz, kicker, also on a bye. You're also needing to fill all 3 of those spots because you don't have anybody on your bench for this. So there's going to be a lot of cuts that have to happen in this game, unless you're just going to handshake it. We're going to go 73-73 and go for it. So, all right, that is everything that I had for this week. Anything from you?
No.
Anything from you?
Nothing.
All right, thanks guys for joining. We'll see you all next week for first week of the playoffs. Talking about matchups next week.